This feeling that we are birthing something new, and that we are birthing something new together. We're birthing a new way to live as humans. That it takes courage to not just follow in the tracks that have already been trodden. It takes courage, and it also takes humility and integrity to not just follow in the tracks that have already been trodden and just follow the conditioned ways of being. It takes courage and a willingness, and it takes an ability to listen deeply to what is calling in the heart, to listen to the call of God and glory that is inviting us into a new way of being, a new way of living. I notice that I say integrity a lot. I've been contemplating that this week. Wow, I say integrity a lot. I deeply value integrity, and the deep valuing of integrity is a constant inquiry here of what is integrity, and why do I say it so much? What is that fascination and commitment and wanting to align with integrity? Like, what actually is that? And I feel here that it's about really aligning with what is whole and being available, resting in the not knowing and the humility of not knowing, and aligning with the frequency of the presence of God and glory, so that the living of the life can be integral. Really is that the whispers of God and the breath of God can breathe through us, that the wisdom light can shine through us, that the love of God can emanate through us, and that an integrity perhaps is about just constantly refining by realigning with that we know and recognize to be the glory. And in that, opening to recognize what enlivens us, what brings us alive. What do we know to be true? That we can be so wired to be in the problem solving and the fixing and changing, so wired towards the problems, that we overlook the grace and the glory of what brings us alive, what enlivens us, what are the signs, what are the ways that we recognize God and glory, what are the ways that we actually live in integrity. What does it mean to be humble? What is humility? And we can so quickly go to, oh yeah, I'm so lacking in integrity, or oh, I need to be more humble, or I need to be more in integrity. And you see, we follow that mind track that immediately wants to enter the sense of lack or not good enough or something wrong, rather than, and it's interesting just to notice this for yourself as these words are coming, rather than aligning with the frequency that is, the integrity is to align with the frequency of what enlivens us, what we know to be true, and not so much align with the frequency that wants to make ourselves wrong. That in itself, although it's innocent and we have absolute compassion, that in itself is the trap and the trick, right? That in itself is the, I'm just seeing now the 40 days and the 40 nights of the temptation, the ways that we can be tempted to be tricked into the fear, all of the ways that life will keep tempting us and tricking us to see whether we will leave the integrity of our knowing of God and glory, whether we will leave what enlivens us and what we know to be true in order to be pulled into the fear and the suffering and the kind of collective kind of wanting to join and engage in the drama and meet in the drama, meet in what's wrong, share the stories of what's wrong, what's bad, what's hard. And it's not about bypassing the deep feelings that arise in us, but it is about recognizing that what we align with and what we give energy to and the words that we speak are all a part of our exploration of what integrity is, right? That any words that we speak that are putting ourselves down or expecting something bad is going to happen, we have the power through the mind to create that. And so perhaps a part of integrity is about being very aware of the words that we speak and how easy it is to fall into these kind of grooves in conversations of just talking about things in ways that negate or dramatize or just kind of joining in the misery as opposed to uplifting and being in that integral frequency of wholeness and having the courage to be the one in the conversation that doesn't just kind of join the Eeyore frequency of, yeah, no, it's really hard, you know, the world's going to pot. It's so, what is it to have the courage to actually say, well, you know what, I don't feel that. I feel this is a really amazing and profound time to be a human, because we're actually birthing something new. We actually have the power and potency to be the living expression of God and glory. And I don't actually feel that everything is going to pot and going, you know, down the tubes, you know. And of course you have to know and feel the truth and express the truth. But what is it to be the one in the conversation, in the community, in the family that uplifts and doesn't just join the tribal consciousness in order to belong in the old ways of fitting in? What is it to live in an integrity and alignment with our own heart's knowing, aligned with God and glory, with presence, with whatever we could say, higher self, with truth, with love, right? What is it to live this and to be this? What is it to dwell and join and uplift by the recognition of what does enliven us? Where is the magic? Where are those miracles? Where is love vibrant and alive right now, right? Because it is. It is. And how are we habituated? And how are we habituated to playing small and to being in the drama and the problems? And what is it to be an emanation of love and to live in an integrity? And the sense here also is that integrity is your own inner measure. Integrity isn't being measured by anybody else. It's not the worldly idea of what integrity is and obeying the rules and living in these certain ways. It's an inner integrity. It's about your relationship with your highest, most profound self, with God, with glory, with the Mother, with truth. It's about your inner relationship and communion and living not according even to your own expectations of perfection that involve pushing yourself and making yourself wrong. And it's about living real, being real, right? Being real and exploring all the ways that we just fall into these old grooves of archetypes and labels and descriptors and this is the way it is, and this is what I am, and this is just how it is when you do this. This is what it is to be a man, this is what it is to be a woman, to be a husband, a wife, a brother, a sister. This is what it is to be a doctor, a lawyer, a healer, a counselor. This is what it is to be a mother, a father, right? What if we don't know what it is? And what if we stop hiding in our addiction to roles and the footsteps that have trodden before, and that to really live this truth in integrity is to question everything, and to really let the life be an adventure and an exploration where we are empowered with the power and wisdom light of God and glory to actually explore all of the ways that we hide and remain fearful and stuck, and that life can be an adventure where we are in a constant exploration, where we're taking a responsibility for ourselves and our lives, and that it becomes exciting to explore and to meet ourselves and to discover, and that exploration isn't about living a certain way. It's about seeing everything as a sign, as a symbol that we're not interpreting and giving meaning to, but we're just noticing what happens, what's happening now to me in the presence of this. What am I making it mean about me, about my life? How is my mood affected? How is my behavior affected? What kind of emotions are arising? And not using, in a way, anything that's gone before to tell us how we have to live, but to be so empowered in the presence of God and glory in our own heart that we have the courage and integrity to question everything, to meet ourselves more deeply, and to come to like a deeper, more empowered knowing of ourselves. Because as we do so, we start to meet the truth that we could say we are children of God. And we could say in a deeper way, we are one with God. That this is a unified field, this is one whole. And the more that we open to explore how this is one whole, how is this one unified field? What is this sense of division then? How am I separating? How am I keeping myself divided? What is it that's keeping the division here? And how can I just open within my lived experience to joyfully, playfully explore that? Get really curious with that. So one part of this unfolding is for sure opening to the presence field, opening to the presence, the awake field, the awareness, and being able to recognize the field that is the presence of being through the silence, the stillness, and the deep sanctuary of the field of light transmission. There's never a moment wasted just being and coming to recognize and to really soak in and deepen that recognition and recognize what is enlivening here, what feels nourishing here. And to not be so much looking to contextualize or conceptualize, but to come to really like an autonomy and a sovereignty within the recognition that brings us into an alignment and a recognition of integrity, so that we know this sanctuary, we know this refuge. and that this refuge is not a hiding place. It's actually a place of reality. It's a place of being real with ourselves, being honest with ourselves. Because it's almost as if even within our own inner sanctuary of our own unfolding, that we open to greater and greater degrees of safety just with ourselves. That certain things that are hiding won't come forward until we have like an integral safety within our knowing of our true being, so that we can actually open to all of ourself, so that in a way the protective, conditioned and hiding parts of us feel safe enough to come forward. So we are birthing something new. What it is to live as a human, absolutely immersed and absorbed in God and glory in a way that hasn't really happened before. It's like it's been on pause since Yeshua brought the great good news to us all and did his best, right? But it's such a profound possibility to just receive the invitation that isn't an invitation that's associated with any kind of organization or institution or religion or dogma. It's actually the invitation to know yourself, right? And this invitation has been shared by great beings, saints and sages, in all realms and dimensions and fields across ages. That this invitation has been here, right? Know thyself, be still and know I am, right? Who am I? I am that, right? The invitation has come forward so many times. But it's not about the one that's offering the invitation. It's about receiving the invitation as an exploration, and letting the life be about that exploration. And it's not so much about getting lost in paradigms of our habit to be powerless means that we're so habituated to remain powerless and to move in paradigms where we seemingly give power away, and we believe that truth and that glory is outside of us. That it's about joining in the frequency of God and glory, and where you feel uplifted, where you feel enlivened, whatever it is that enlivens, and then diving into that frequency as a portal, as an opening, as the presence of God and glory being here, now. And if we remain empty, we can be filled. If we remain humble, we can be infused with the wisdom light and true pure knowledge. And what we mean by humble is that we are not attached to what we think we know, that we remain without attachment to what we think we know, however deep we take this unfolding, that we remain simple and pure of heart. Because in a way, all we ever can hope to be, in a way, in the fullest way, is an instrument of God and grace and love, right? And that the more open we are, and the more that we realize perhaps that, every breath is the breath of God, that the life is being animated by life itself. That true wisdom, true love is moving through us. Abundance is moving through us. Life is moving through us. And at the same time, we are being invited to live the fullness of what it is to be a human, and to not attach to archetypes, but to be like a living, breathing expression of love. Wow, right? And to actually live the fullness of this life in joy, like children, in innocence and awe and wonder and constant adventure and exploration. And that we can be so bogged down with that collective frequency of fear and just moving in those fearful ways of problem solving and kind of being in the downer. And it's not about denying any of that. It's actually about having the power and presence to embrace and be the vehicle of transmutation for all of that. Let's be quiet for a moment. Let's just be in the what's happening now question. Because when we're in the what's happening now question, we come to be really present with ourselves, and we come to a realness, and we bring all that we are to the joining, to the gathering, and that we actually join in a satsang, a satsanga that is absolutely steeped in truth and reality. Right? That we bring all that we are forward, and that everything that we are, whatever is alive, whatever is stirred, is absolutely welcome. So in the presence field, being here now, we open and we can recognize what is alive here. Can recognize that the transmission of light is very alive and potent right now. It's as if we've removed the veils, and we open to receive what enlivens us and what nourishes. It's like we open to recognize our own connection to source, to the frequency of source, of truth. It's like for all of us, the greatest offering that we have is our frequency, the integrity of our frequency. And the greatest service is to be real. And so in this moment, just to receive yourself, your own presence, the love that you are. That as we join, the frequency of the field amplifies and refines. And it's like we're all nourished by the transmission of light. So just to sip in the sweet nectar of your own self. Sip in the sweetness of your own heart's knowing. Receive the love that is. The truth is that love is never absent. There's no shortage of love. There's no shortage of resources. There's no shortage of truth. It's just about opening to receive and truly letting all that we are, every fiber of our beingness be infused. Let God and glory take up residence. Let love take up residence. And truly like flip the switch of fear in every cell and fiber of your being. That as we open, the switch gets flipped. It's like the nucleus gets cracked open, and the love that's like the soft center within starts oozing out, and we start feeling the softness of our own center, the love that we are, the hard shell of our protection and our holding starts to dissolve. That when you give yourself, when you give yourself to the highest, to the deepest, to the widest, it's like the highest, deepest, widest, infinite can reach you, can fill you. And you give yourself to the timeless, the eternal can come alive in you. Right? When we give ourselves to God and glory, to love, love can come alive in us. That all of the answers are here. That we are the living answer. And when we know and recognize how to connect to Source, that we're connecting to the wisdom field, we're connecting to the field that is the living Veda. It's the field of living intelligence, living wisdom, pure knowledge. And it's like we don't have to know and understand with the mind. We don't have to seek for answers, because we recognize that the answer is being the living prayer and being open to receive the grace and glory of constant recalibration and upgrading and revealment. when we truly let God and glory, love into our hearts, into our lives, into our families, our bank accounts, right? Then God and glory can make a difference. It's like we stop feeling that we're cut off and separate and divided, and that my life is a problem to solve or to prove or to be validated or affirmed. We stop living from our woundedness. We stop living from the deeply held belief in our brokenness. We stop living from this idea that there's something wrong with me, and being confined within this idea, this concept, this belief, and we start living from what enlivens us, what brings us alive. Where is the wisdom? Where is the light? Where is the love? And how can I open, as all mystics, saints and sages of all ages have done, to receive that, right? How can I just stop being kind of little old me, just getting by, and actually open to be the mystic, the sage, the wise one that I'm actually destined to be? What is it to actually flower and blossom in this life in the full expression of divine love? And then to be in that, a vehicle, a frequency for change, for really birthing something new and feeling the power like flooding through you as a kind of knowing of God and glory, that you do have the power in your lived experience to be the change, to be potent in this lifetime. Wow, yes, little old you, and yes, little old me, right? That we can play out those games of powerlessness and scarcity and lack and not me and too broken, too wounded, something wrong with me. But you know, wherever we have the incredible possibility of being secret agents, of embodying the power of love. And our lived experience doesn't have to be about trying to elevate ourselves and be seen, right? That our lived experience is about being the living frequency. And as the living frequency, we're supported, we're open to the flow of abundance, we're open to the flow of grace, because we're living as the living reality. We're living as a unified field. Everything is available to us, right? We're not cut off from anything. All resources, all love, it's all available to us when we stop cutting ourselves off by feeding the messages of lack. What are we believing about ourselves? What are these stories that we're believing? What are our constant messages that we're telling ourselves that keep us small and in lack and there's something wrong with me, I'm broken, I'm wounded, I'm not worthy, I'm undeserving, I'm not lovable? And then how are we walking as a walking transmission field that says, do you see me? I'm not worthy. Yeah, you don't see me because I don't expect for you to see me because I'm not worth seeing. And you're not going to meet me because I'm not worth meeting. And I expect that you won't meet me. So there's absolutely no chance you're going to meet me. And there's no chance that, that I'm going to get the job and the support because I don't think I'm worthy. And even though I'm going for this job interview or I'm showing up to try to rent this apartment or this house, I'm not going to get it because I'm not worthy of getting it. You're going to see me as just this powerless little nothing. And I expect that to happen. And so in a way, I don't even know why I bother to show up because I kind of know what's going to happen because that's the signal that I'm putting out, right? That's the frequency that I'm putting out. Don't see me, just mirror back to me. And so that I feel even more diminished and even more lacking and in my powerlessness, right? Please, world, keep showing me that there's something wrong with me. I think there's something wrong with me. Please keep showing me. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Now you've just confirmed exactly what I thought about myself. And now I can tell myself that a little bit more, right? This is living in the frequency of fear and lack, in separation, in division, in the collective. Oh, and then we start seeing that story of powerlessness and how it starts to play out in power imbalance and conflict. We start seeing it on the screen and we start collaborating with it, right? And we collaborate with it because it's confirming our stories of ourselves, of our own powerlessness, our own brokenness, the feelings that we have of feeling abused and violated. But ultimately, how are we feeding that? How are we feeding that? And are we willing to be the ultimate activist? Are we willing to actually live as love and stop feeding the frequency of our own diminishment, right? So as the words are coming, the words come as a transmission so that we have the capacity within our own experience to open, to recognize, and to feel. It's like the field and the transmission opens up the field so that we call forward the places that we are holding those frequencies of division and separation and lack and scarcity and deficiency and worthlessness. We call it forward, but we don't call it forward to confirm it. We call it forward to illuminate and see. As the seer, as the light, I see the ways that I can move like that. And instead of diminishing ourselves in it and beating ourselves up and kind of taking to, a dark room and, with a box of donuts to just like feel really like, I might as well just kind of continue the cycle. Instead, we say, no, I see the ways that I move and I don't make myself wrong for that. But I see those ways and I illuminate those ways that I expect. I'm expecting life to not see me. I'm expecting, and it's like we just start to see more and more of the subtle ways that our frequency is what our life is, and that we have this knowing of the frequency of love, of openness, of the glory. And if we can just keep being in the recognition of what enlivens us, and it's not a transcendence because the mind goes to, oh, is that just transcending? And that whole game of don't transcend, whatever you do, don't transcend, don't bypass. It's just another way of feeding that fear frequency that wants to say, oh, I better not bypass, so I better stay miserable, right? I better not transcend, so I better just stay like really in my stuff, really make it hard. There's so many subtle ways that frequency of fear and lack is looking to nourish itself, right? The pain body, right? The pain body just seeks to nourish itself and just keep relishing relishing its kind of its misery. It almost gets nourished. Just a little cup more misery will just do it, right? Wow, just to see how there can be a part of us that's so sincere and so open and knows this truth. And it's like, how do we marry these seeming parts of ourselves? And we marry by being the frequency of love that sees and holds and creates a sense of safety where we're willing to drop and kind of push through and just not keep repeating the same patterns, that we're open to receive the frequencies of love and grace and glory, and let our whole field, our whole being, our whole body be flooded with the frequencies of love. So right now in our field, what's happening in the transmission is is that as we join and as we open and as we call forward, the field is now refining and recalibrating. So where we would habitually maybe repeat, instead of the repeater, we're opening to the fresh. We're opening to let those frequencies be seen. We're opening all the doors and windows and the closets. We're opening up and bringing light and illumination to all of the ways. And it's not a fixing, changing, or even seeing and understanding and getting insight on a level of kind of mind processing or psychological processing. It's just knowing that right now the light is just illuminating, blasting everything that's ready to be seen. And in this field, the transmutation happens, right? So in a way, what I'm seeing now, part of this birthing something new, I'm seeing that our gathering, instead, right, the subtle ways, now this has already been happening, but it's a dance of refinement that's happening right now in our whole field of gathering, is that this is what has been happening, and yet there have still been frequencies of, you know, where we feel a powerlessness of like, fix me, help me, wanting to be dependent, wanting to feel like, oh, I need something else. What's happening now in this frequency transmission, which is really powerful and beautiful, is that our gathering is being kind of upgraded to be a frequency field for this transmission to happen. And what's happening so beautifully is that we're calling forth those frequencies that want to remain powerless, that want to remain as the child and be parented, that want to remain as the broken one that gets fixed, wants to remain as the one that needs someone else to make me feel better. That our whole field of our satsanga is being upgraded to this new frequency possibility that we don't even know what we're birthing, but we're being upgraded together. That our gathering is a frequency field of transmutation and transmission and refinement and upgrading at a whole other level, right? That we're being upgraded as a whole field, as a whole community. We're being upgraded in what is possible and what we're opening to. And in this moment too, what we're saying yes to. And in this moment, you get to say yes in your heart. You get to say yes to receive this upgrade. You get to receive the upgrade in your system, because what's happening is that the whole system of, let's say, the consciousness of our satsanga is being upgraded, and in that the seeming individual consciousness, the threads of consciousness are being upgraded. So your consciousness, beloved, is being upgraded. Your whole nervous system is being upgraded to be a vehicle where you're ready to receive more refined transmissions. You're ready to receive more refined capacity to recognize your sovereign, autonomous connection to Source. And that as you connect to Source, your connection to Source brings your frequency into our field and into your lived experience. So your frequency and your lived experience is in service to the whole, and that when we gather together, as our frequencies join, we become an amplified reverberant field in service and support of the whole, and a living adventure, an experiment of what we are birthing as something new in service to the great glory, right? So this is what is happening in our field. As we say yes, the transmission field is more enlivened, and it's like a living demonstration of every step you take towards your higher self or towards the divine. The divine takes 10 steps, leaps towards you. And it's all happening inside you. It's not a divine that's outside of you. It's the divine that you are. Let's use the word divine and let's combine it with the word innocence. And let's combine it with the word like untainted purity. Let's combine it so that we recognize that what divinity is our own untainted. The part of us that's untainted, the part of us that is God and glory, the part of us that knows, the part of us that is, the isness of our being, right?